And welcome back, everybody, to another live hangout here at I'm Not a Coach. I'm your host, Dave Huerta. Thank you so much for joining us, man. And yeah, so it's Monday night. It is Monday night, and technically, it is not the new year yet. We still have a few more days before Wednesday starts out for the new league year, but it is the first day of the legal tampering period, which we all know what that means. It's been a growing theme, I would say, probably for the last 10 years or so, that this is basically when players actually unofficially sign with their new team. They basically agreed to the terms, the length, the contract, the guaranteed money. The only thing that they're waiting for is for the actual paperwork to be signed officially, but everything has been agreed to in principle. So, does that guarantee that every single one of these signings that we have seen over the last 12 hours or so are going to be signed? No, we've seen in the past that I think it was a couple of years ago, Zadarius Smith agreed to sign a contract after he had been cut from the Packers. He actually agreed to sign a contract going back to Baltimore, which is where he started his first 4 seasons. And he was actually on a plane, I believe, to go to Baltimore. And as soon as he landed, he had already agreed to another contract with more money, more guarantees with the Vikings. And he basically called the Baltimore Ravens and said, "Hey, I'm in Baltimore, but I am actually heading back to Minnesota to sign a contract there." And yeah, so we have seen it before, but for the most part, most of these guys, they're just waiting for the next few days, like the next day and a half, basically until Wednesday, to head off to where they're going to be to sign that brand spanking new contract for their new teams. So, but don't worry, we'll get to some of those contracts. I'm not going to do a whole free agency breakdown today just because I want to be able to get the visuals up. I want to get the contract. I want to get the final numbers as well because a lot of these look insane. And Captain Mickey Mouse, what's going on, brother? Good to see you. Good to see you. You still want to go all 3 games for the preseason? How about going to the Packers and Bills Ravens? Oh man, that would be pretty interesting. If I were to do that, I don't think it's going to be this year. It's just there's a lot going on. I don't have the resources yet to kind of go to those games. But hopefully in a few years, man. Like I said, especially preseason games, I want to be, if it's a regular season game or a postseason game, I would like to be here at home because I want to stream it with you guys. I want to be able to experience this with you. But during those preseason games, that'd be a kind of a cool thing. Maybe we can do some filming in the stadiums. I know they're kind of iffy about that. May not be able to do it, but yeah. But it's gonna be definitely a future thing for sure. Probably not this year. Maybe a couple years down the road. But yeah. Friday nights live stream. We'll have more of the free agency breakdowns. I'll have the kind of the pictures, the breakdowns. Hopefully, the contracts will be a little bit more public. I think the Aaron Banks, which we'll get to here, that contract looks insane on paper. And granted, it is around where he was expected to make per year, but there's some, what is guaranteed, what isn't guaranteed. There's some questions about that. Some of those figures have not come out publicly yet. Same thing with a handful of other contracts from different players, different teams. So I think that would be great to break down on Friday to have the actual numbers, have everything set. But we will talk about some of those today for sure. I'm going to highlight some of the bigger ones, obviously some Packer ones, and some from the NFC North, some from around the league that seem pretty interesting. So, but yeah, man. Other than that, how have you guys been? How you doing? Yeah, man. We had the combine about like a week ago. That was pretty interesting. Did not get a chance to really do a whole lot with that, but we will be doing some draft stuff, a few here and there, if I can get my hands on some film. All right, let me see here. I don't know if that's correct, but they have already secluded the Super Bowl 2025. Oh, right on. Heck yeah. But yeah, man. But yeah, the combine, Senior Bowl was very, very interesting. Once again, did not get a chance to watch as much as I wanted to, but I'm hoping the NFL is going to start really broadcasting that a little bit more accessible. I know if you're really trying to find it, you can find some film. I'm going to try to do that. And because there's some guys there, man. The Senior Bowl is a great indication of, especially for the Packers. Packers love if they draft a guy, most likely he was invited not only to the combine, but he was invited to the Senior Bowl for that game. Goody loves his Senior Bowl guys. And then, but yeah, man. Other than that, I've been mostly filming and editing some of these films that I will be rolling out, basically starting potentially. Actually, I'm gonna be dropping one this week. I'm hoping to get it done by Friday, just before the live stream. So that will be the premiere of a brand new video series here on the channel, and my goal is to get at least two of those, drop two of those a week. They will be bite sized. There's gonna be some experimentation for sure on those videos, kind of just to make sure if you guys are liking them. If there's things that we can change, you want them longer, you want them shorter, things like that. But yeah, prepare for that, and I will talk about that here in a little bit more. I will introduce the new video series here in a bit. But yeah, let me know what signing kind of caught you off guard. What something was surprising? What did your team do? Are you happy with what your team did, even if they didn't sign anybody? Let me know. And Dave, you still wanted to go to the Bills preseason when they release it, and Ravens and maybe Bucks, right? Let me see here. I believe. Let me see. But the Bills, the new stadium, I would like to see that eventually. That'd be pretty cool once it's all built and done. I'm a big Baltimore guy, man. I like the team. It'd be really, really fun to be able to see a game in that stadium. It'd be great to see a game in any stadium, to be honest with you. But yeah, being able to see Lamar live would be awesome. But yeah, but Captain Mickey Mouse, man, what did you think of the first quote unquote unofficial day of free agency? Did anybody catch you? Any players catch you off guard? Any teams? Anything like that? Let me know, man. And also, how did your team do? Were you happy with what they did, or were you hoping for maybe a little bit more? All right. So while we're trying to get some people in here, let's talk about the um, first big signing for the Packers, man. Because the Packers tend to dip in free agency once every 5 years. It's a double occurrence in per decade, basically. So this is I think this is the first time in the 2020s that they have actually gone out for some big free agents. I think the last time they did this is when they signed four different players in the same day that was when they picked up Zadarius Smith from the Baltimore Ravens, Preston Smith from the Washington Commanders, Adrian Amos from the Bears, and Billy Turner from the Broncos, if I'm correct. Let me see here. Captain Mickey Mouse. I thought Devontae Adams would stay with the Ravens. Devontae was with the Jets. Jets. But yeah, no, I was surprised that he went to the Rams. That one was. It makes sense when you look at it. It's just really weird to see Devontae in that blue and yellow. I don't know why. It hasn't kicked in yet to be able to see him like that. But yeah, man, I mean, being able to be in that offense, I think is gonna be really, really, really good for Devontae, man. He's got a good crew around him. Puka Nacua, Tutu Atwell. Stafford, I believe, still has enough in the tank to make a deep run. He can still sling it, man. He still has the arm. I think he's a little bit slower in terms of his ability to kind of move in the pocket. You know, it's not as sudden as it used to be. And granted, he was never never like Lamar Jackson or any kind of like these new guys like Patrick Mahomes, but he was always able to kind of really move around. But you can tell he's guy's almost 40, man. But Matthew Stafford, man, he can still get the ball out there, man. Devontae still has enough speed to be a threat, and on top of that, he's still arguably the best route runner in the NFL. But yeah, man, Devontae, I think he's gonna have a solid season with the Rams. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes over 1,200. Probably, anywhere between 6 to 10 touchdowns for Devontae. I think he can still be very productive. He's gonna be 33. So, I think we're starting to see the end of his prime years, and I think we're starting to see kind of, and we've seen receivers, extend their careers pretty long. And Devontae has never been a guy that relies heavily on his speed. He's always been very much like he's going to beat you basically at the line of scrimmage and then get open. Hey, if you look at the Bills website, you can see the pictures of the new stadium. Oh, heck yeah, dude. Yeah. Right on. I'll definitely have to check those out. They are working on finishing it. Yeah, it's supposed to be ready for 2026, right? I think this is the last year for the Bills in their current stadium. But yeah, no, that should be a really, really nice stadium for them. David Stegosaurus, hello, sir. How are you? It's good to see you, buddy. Good to see you. But yes, talking about the Packers and their wild free agency period here in the last couple today, their first of two signings, and they went with the big man in the trenches, and that is Aaron Banks from San Francisco, the 27-year-old, I believe. I think he's going to doesn't turn 28 until September. So still relatively young, especially for a guard. I feel like guards age like tight ends. They can play pretty well into their early to mid 30s. So it would not be surprising to see if Aaron Banks, if he can stay healthy and be productive, it wouldn't be surprising to see him sign another contract in Green Bay. But obviously, I'm getting ahead of myself. He hasn't even officially signed yet. But 27-year-old guard. The stat that's kind of going around there, he has only given up one sack in the last year and a half. Basically, a little over 800 snaps over there in San Francisco. And I think there's another stat that was, I don't know if these are true. I tried to look into them. It was tough to kind of find the official numbers. But I believe he's only given up two sacks in over 1,500 snaps, which is wild. Even for a guard. I know that's, usually the tackles are the ones that are kind of really getting the pass rushers. Um, Guards are really, they're grinders, man. But that's still impressive, man. Just 2 sacks, and basically, I think it was his. He was a starter over there in San Francisco since his, I think, midway through his second season. So that's an impressive stat. Young guy, relatively healthy for almost his entire career, and I mean, let's be honest, man. We if you saw any of the games over there in San Francisco, they were able to run the ball, even without Christian McCaffrey. They were able to run the ball with Mason, Elijah Mitchell. There's another running back there that I'm forgetting right now, but yeah, man, almost every single game they were able to put up some decent numbers for the most part. I know towards the end, the numbers were not as amazing or eye popping as they were, but I mean that team was just beat to heck by the end of the season. But Aaron Banks, man, this kid is gonna be interesting. It was a 4-year contract worth $77 million, which when that came out, I was like, what? um, but obviously doing a little bit of a a little bit of a deeper dive. My goodness, sorry. Um, yeah, when I was looking at it, apparently even leading up to this week, the projected numbers for he was the top guard that was available, and the projected numbers were anywhere between 17 million to 21 million per year. And at this point, I think he was averaging just a little over 19 per year with the Packers with this new contract. So well within the inflated market that is day one free agency. But yeah, man. But the good thing is apparently the contract, the only thing that is guaranteed with Banks is the signing bonus, which is a pretty standard practice over there in Green Bay. They don't like to really put any kind of guaranteed money outside of the signing bonus. So that gives the Packers, usually it gives them some decent flexibility. Usually this means that this 4-year contract is basically a 2-year contract. And basically after 2 years, if the Packers either like him, they'll try to either restructure, convert some of that contract money into more of a signing bonus, which obviously good for him, and that'll allow the Packers to kind of shrink down some of the bloated cap hit throughout the last couple of years of that contract. Or if it doesn't work out, whether he can't stay healthy, has a regression in form, after 2 years, the Packers can basically cut him with very little on the books after that. So yeah, it's not always sexy, but you gotta get the big guys there, man. And the Packers, not only did they need depth, but they also needed somebody that can potentially start, man. Towards the end, they were kind of shuffling through guards there. They tried Sean Ryan. He was probably the better option of the two. But yeah, man, it was just not consistent enough. You wanted more consistency. I think the tackles were, for the most part, okay. They had some bad games here and there, but it looks like that right guard position was something that they were cycling through quite a bit. And then once the injury started happening towards the end of the season, that's when, you saw it during that Eagles game, man. Once Josh Myers went down, the guards went down. The offensive line just fell apart during that Eagles game. And I think the Packers were like, this cannot happen again. So I don't think this is the last time the Packers will address the offensive line. I would not be surprised if they invested a day 2, early day 3 pick in this offensive line. The Packers, more than almost most teams, they love those mid-round offensive linemen. They like to sit them down for a year or two and then just unleash them. You got Josh Sitton, TJ Lang, Darren College. Granted, these are almost like 10 years ago at this point, but David Bakhtiari, Elton Jenkins, Walker. I mean, like you look at some of these guys. None of them are first round picks. Outside of Jenkins, I think everybody else was a third or a fourth round pick or later. And the names I just called, there were some All Pros there. There were some Pro Bowlers there. There's potentially, there's for sure Packer Hall of Famers there, but potentially NFL Hall of Famers, Bakhtiari, Josh Sitton. You got Corey Lindsley, who was an All-Pro center for a while. Evan Dietrich Smith, who's an undrafted guy. He started for the Packers for a couple of years. Also had a nice career in Tampa Bay for a while there as well. J.C. Treader was a third or fourth round pick. Fourth round pick. I think it was. He came in that same draft with Bakhtiari. He had a great career over there in Cleveland. So yeah, man, it's Dave, did you hear what the Bills said about the Chiefs game? They said they wanted a rematch. Absolutely, man. I would want a rematch too, man. If I was the Bills, I was like, dude, you beat us in the AFC Championship game, and then you lay an egg in the Super Bowl? Can't do it, man. Can't do it. But yeah, man. I mean, let's be honest. The NFL is gonna pit those two teams in the regular season every year. It's the Mahomes and Josh Allen is the new Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. Any excuse for the NFL to put those two teams together in the regular season, they're gonna take it. It's gonna be a primetime game, whether it's early in the season or late in the season. It's going to be a primetime game. They're going to fit it in. They're going to force it. And to be honest with you, I don't blame them. It's great football. It's great TV. And those teams right now are some of arguably the two best teams in the AFC, along with the Ravens. So yeah, man. Yeah, I'm hoping for a rematch too, man. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting with what these teams continue to do in free agency and what they do in the draft. But yeah, yeah. Let me know what you think. Did you like the Aaron Banks signing? Do you think it's an overpay? Do you think I know there's some people saying that this guy is kind of like a backup. He's an average guard. The only reason he was this high up is because it was he was the top guard. That's why he got overpaid. But I don't know, man. Like San Francisco, they like to run the ball. They're aggressive. I like that kind of style. And also, he's gonna know the system really well. Kyle Shanahan runs a very, very similar system to Matt LaFleur because, Matt LaFleur was a disciple of the Kyle Shanahan playbook, man. So this kid is probably not gonna have to learn a whole lot of new things. He's probably just gonna be different verbiage and different name to similar concepts. So, all right, David, I would love to see the Steelers bounce the Bills next year. Oh, absolutely. No disrespect to the Bills. Why? Wide right. There's the disrespect. Ooh. My goodness. David coming out here, man. He's bringing up wide right, man. I think that still hurts Bills fans. I think even Bills fans that were not born, that still hurts during that game, man. Holy cow. But yeah, man. Hey, man, Steelers, DK Metcalf. That's a player, man. That's a player that I was not expecting them to trade for. But I'm not gonna lie, I like it. I do like it. It's now they just need somebody who can throw him the ball. The Steelers right now, they need a running back. I think they need a little bit of help with that offensive line. And since we're talking about DK, yeah. So DK obviously traded to the Steelers. And then on top of that, they signed him to a brand spanking new big contract, 5 years, $150 million. I did not see the guaranteed money. I don't know if that information is out yet, but holy cow, that is a whole lot of money for DK Metcalf, and it's tough to argue, man. If he can play at his potential, it's gonna be tough to argue that's not worth it. AKF, what's going on, brother? How you doing? It's good to see you, man. I saw on Twitter earlier for Edge, it's Hendrickson, Chase Young, or bust for Green Bay. I am hoping the Packers shell out for an edge rusher, man. We need one. Like I said, I'm hoping Lucas Van Ness develops. It's been 2 years. He looked good his rookie year. In my opinion, he took a step back in the second year. I think every pass rusher took a step back. Rashawn Gary took a step back. He wasn't as consistent. I don't think he was terrible, but he did not get to the quarterback, and that's what you get paid to do. Pressures are good, sacks are better, and the Packers need somebody. Max Crosby. Even though that was probably never going to happen, there was a little bit of hope there, but obviously now he has signed his new contract with the Raiders, well deserving as well. But yeah, man, I'm still hoping out for Myles Garrett, but I don't think that's going to happen because I don't know what the heck the Browns are doing. And on top of that, Myles Garrett, I don't know if the Packers could afford to pay him what he wants. But, he said it's not about money, but usually when they say it's not about money, it's usually about the money a little bit. And that's not wrong. I'm not trashing anybody especially these players, man. You gotta get your money, dude. You don't play a whole lot for very long. But yeah, man, I would be interested with Hendrickson, but he is a little bit older. I wouldn't want to give up a whole lot. I wouldn't give up more than a first. If they want a first, that's fine. It would be not this first, next year's first. But I would probably want like a third-round pick back or a fourth or something. But I wouldn't give up multiple early picks for Hendrickson. He's a little bit older, too. That's the other thing. LVN listened to Third Eye Blind too much. I wish you would step back. Yeah, man, we gotta get LVN with some new music, man. We gotta get him some grunge rock, maybe. If not, man, maybe some hip hop, man. Who knows? Get some Kendrick Lamar in there. Get some J. Cole. And if he wants to be, mellow out after the game, little Kid Cudi. There you go. Kid Cudi, man, it's worked out for Joe Burrow. I'm just saying. Guy almost won a Super Bowl a couple of years ago. I think a second, fourth, and Dobbs will get us Trey Hendrickson. I would not. That's not bad. A second, a fourth, and Dobbs. God, man, that fourth hurts a little bit. Dobbs hurts as well. I love Dobbs, but it is his final year of his contract, and I don't know if the Packers are going to want to sign him. So you might be just willing to trade him away for somebody. But yeah, I wouldn't be too mad about that. A second, a fourth, and Dobbs. I would like. I'm a haggler. If you know anything about me, I'm a haggler. So I'd be like, all right, we can have that, but I want a fifth. I want a fifth round pick. That way I can flip my 2/5 for a fourth. Maybe you can package the 7th round draft pick that you got from Preston Smith from last year. You can package that too. But yeah, man. Talking about DK, man. So the big thing with DK has been his relative health for the most part, and I would say the last year and a half, if not 2 years, he just hasn't been as consistent as you want. He hasn't been as anywhere near as dominant as he used to be early in his career. Granted, some people argue that Geno Smith has been spreading the ball a little bit more to other guys, which is I think has helped Seattle. But now you have to wonder. All right, you got the receivers now. You got George Pickens and DK Metcalf. That is a strong two-headed monster there in the passing game. But who do you have running the ball? And then on top of that, who is going to be your quarterback? Is it going to be Russell Wilson again? I mean, Russell looked good for a bit there, but then whether it was the team overall or just his play as well, it looked ugly towards the end of the season. And there's obviously they've been talking about Aaron Rodgers there, but then the Rodgers to the Giants has also been a thing. Like, who knows? I think if Rodgers does go to the Steelers, I think that can definitely bring some excitement to that offense. Rodgers, DK Metcalf, George Pickens, and if they can get a running back, if they can pick up Rico Dowdle, who if you've watched any of the live streams that we've done throughout the season, you know I'm a big fan of Rico Dowdle. I'm hoping the Packers sign Rico Dowdle, even though we probably don't need him. But yeah, if Rico Dowdle goes to the Steelers and they get Aaron Rodgers and they draft some offensive linemen, that's going to be a pretty solid offense for the Steelers. I think Rasheed Walker could be on the move this season. Really? I don't know, man. I mean, I think the Packers want to be aggressive. I think the signing of the free agents is an indication of that for sure. But the only reason I don't see Rasheed moving, and tell me if you disagree. It's just one, he's obviously on a rookie contract, so it's incredibly cheap. Like, unless somebody is offering you a first or a second, maybe a third and like maybe another pick, I was like, his play, is Rasheed Walker an all-pro? No, not yet. He's developing. But for what he was worth, what you drafted him, which was a 7th-round draft pick, he's a solid tackle. He's solid right now, and he's still developing. He's still very young. I don't think you give up on that potential unless you get some major compensation. And the Packers tend not to trade their guys away, typically. Not unless they, I can't think of many times the Packers have just kind of traded away a guy. Like Rasul Douglas is obviously the most recent example. Preston Smith, but I'm trying to talk about guys that, their age wasn't a factor, their contract wasn't necessarily a factor. Yeah, it's really rare for the Packers to kind of trade a guy during the season, especially. But I don't know, man. Rasheed Walker, I would be curious to what they could get for Rasheed, because he's played well. He's had some bad stretches here and there, but I would say overall he's been great value for a 7th-round draft pick. Yeah, but yeah, I like him too. I just don't know if Green Bay would want to give him and Zach Tom extensions. Let me see here. I think if they had to choose, which usually you do, especially when you're giving out extensions, you can't sign in everybody. Whether that's your own guys or free agents. It's just you just don't have enough cap. In the NFL. I think if they did, they would go with Zach Tom. I think they like his potential, and I think he's a little bit more versatile of a player. We've seen him play tackle, we've seen him play guard, and he's played relatively pretty darn good at every position that they put him. And I think they've even switched him to the other side of the offensive line as well, and he's done pretty okay. So I think the Packers love that versatility, man. That's why they usually pick those guys that can play tackle in the NFL, in college. But if they can't play in the NFL, then they just kind of kick them inside at guard. Josh Sitton, TJ Lang, I mentioned those guys before. Those guys were tackles in college. I think T.J. Lang was a tackle at Eastern Michigan, if I'm correct. Um, and I think even TJ actually started out competing at tackle in the NFL when he was picked up by the Packers. But then they kicked him in at guard, and I mean the guy had one of the best careers for a Green Bay Packer offensive lineman in the last like 25 years. He was amazing. And so yeah, I think they would pick Zach Tom because I think he has more potential, and I think he has a little bit more versatility. But I think they're only both of those guys. I think are only coming into their third year, so the Packers definitely have time on those decisions. I think Sean Ryan will probably be the center now. I saw a report. They said Jenkins won't be moving to center. Yeah. So I literally just saw a report. I think it was probably like 15 to 20 minutes before I went live. That I don't know. I would have to look it up. I can't. I don't want to say anything if it's unofficial or if it's just some wackadoo that's on Twitter. But I think it was like a reporter. He also said that he's like, "Oh, I was wrong. The initial report of Jenkins potentially moving to center was correct." So yeah. So I remember there was a report, "Oh, Jenkins is moving to center," and then there was another report like an hour later that Jenkins was not, but now it seems like it's back to Jenkins being the center. So let me look, see if I can find that report. But yeah, so apparently Jenkins, I think either way the Packers are gonna test him out. Even if they don't officially want to call it now that he's gonna be moving the center, I think it's I think even if they did want to keep Jenkins at guard, they're gonna test him out at center. And if they like him at center, doesn't mean that there's not going to be other guys competing for that position as well. Because once again, the Packers, they usually want to have 2 or 3 guys that can play that position, whether it's center, guard, or tackle. They love to have versatility. They love to have backups upon their backups. Yeah, let me see here. Alan Jenkins, center. All right, so this was from Matt Schneidman 4 hours ago. Could Alan Jenkins be moving the center with Aaron Banks playing guard? And then we got PG Packers News. PG Packer News with Aaron Banks destined to play left tackle. Packers veteran Elton Jenkins will make the move to center. And then Packers Wire, this was an hour ago. Packers expected to sign Banks, likely moving Elton to center. And then the Packers News tweet that I just read was actually just 23 minutes ago. So yeah, I think there's conflicting reports. I think maybe the reason for that is I think the Packers are just open to whoever wins that position. If it's Elton, great. If they want to keep him at guard and they'll, put a bunch of, 2 or 3, 4 guys that compete at center, I think the Packers are okay with that as well. So, and once again, the Packers are going to add at least probably 1, if not 2, for sure, guys, in the draft that are going to be competing in that interior. The Packers, it seems like every year they like to double dip in the offensive line. They like to keep that position or that area of the team just stocked, always. We got to extend both Tom and Walker after this upcoming season. Oh, do we? Holy cow, man. You might be right, my dude. My goodness, man. How time flies. Are they already entering their 4th year? Oh yeah, yeah. Holy cow, man, that came on fast, dude. Holy cow. But yeah, man. Yeah, so they were both drafted in 2022. So yeah, no, I guess that's true, man. But I think we gotta. I agree. I think they're gonna extend Zach Tom if they had to choose between the two. Because I think Rashid Walker. I think even if you wanted to sign him, I think his contract would be cheaper, regardless. And like I said, I think Zach Tom. I think they like his potential more. And I think Zach is he younger? Uh, so Zach is gonna turn 26 in a few days, actually, in a little over 2 weeks. He's 25 right now. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Rashid is oh, actually no, Rashid is actually younger. He just turned 25 last month in February. So yeah, I mean both of these guys are young as heck. They're incredibly young. Holy cow. Yeah, so right now they're both 25. Zach Thomas is about to turn 26 next in the next couple of weeks here. Yeah, just looking at that 2022 draft for the Packers, man, just a bunch of starters everywhere. Quay Walker, Devontae Wyatt, Christian Watson, Sean Ryan, Romeo Dobbs, Zach Tom, Kingsley Enigbari, Jonathan Ford, Rashid Walker, Samari Toure. Outside of Tyreek Carpenter, Jonathan Ford, and Samari Toure, outside of those three guys, almost everybody that I just mentioned has either been a starter for basically from the beginning when they came in, or has been a starter the last 2 years, for sure. It's a heck of a draft by Goody there, man, in 2022. Holy cow! Yeah, Green Bay got extension decisions to make next. I think the 5th year option on Quay and why I gotta be decided on too. Absolutely. Yeah, man, that's gonna be. And unfortunately, both of those guys, I don't know. I don't know if the Packers are gonna take either of those 5th year options because it's not like it used to be where it's like, oh yeah, we'll take you the 5th year option. It's only gonna be like maybe 12 million. Now it's like you have to be paid. Basically, it's the equivalent of being paid like one of the best at your positions, which I think they're good players. I like that they're getting better still to this day. Especially Quay, who's very, very young. But unfortunately, Wyatt, I think, how old is Wyatt, man? He was an old rookie. I think he was already like 25 when they drafted him. Let me see here. So Wyatt turns 27 at the end of March. So yeah, I think he was 24 when they drafted him. So yeah, if they have to make the decision here, they would have to they would be paying him some top money when he's 27 going to be 28. Yeah, so yeah, Wyatt turns 27 at the end of this month. And Quay Doesn't turn 25 until May. So still relatively young guy here. Yeah, man, that's to be honest with you, that's a great problem to have. If you're the Packers, anytime you have to make tough decisions, you're like, oh man, there's a lot of guys we want to resign, but we may not have the money to. Usually, if you really want the guy, you'll find a way. We've seen it before. You can put a bunch of dead void contracts or a bunch of void contracts at the end of the year to kind of spread that contract out. The Packers tend not to like to do that, but they have done it before. I think Watson and Ryan also need extensions too. Also Romeo, yeah. Um, yeah. Watson, oh, man, it sucks, man. I feel so bad for Watson because he got injured at the worst possible time. Like if you're gonna get hurt, like, and hopefully that doesn't happen ever again to Watson, man, because I really want to see that guy just healthy. Even if he's not a Packer, I just want to see that guy healthy because he's such a good player, man, and he seems like a good dude. It always sucks. But yeah, getting injured with an ACL so late in the year, because not only are you done for that year basically, but it's gonna extend into this year, which is your final year of your rookie contract. And not only that, unless he comes back and just has a monster, and I mean monster season, he's most likely going to be signing a either small contract or a 1 year prove it deal somewhere with some team, which is not what you want to be as your wide receiver, because you're so dependent on getting the ball, making the most of it. You don't always get a chance to do that. So yeah, man, it's gonna be tough for Watson to really break the bank, but I hope he does. I hope he has a great year, whether he stays in Green Bay or not. Sean Ryan, let me see here. Sean Ryan, I, I I could see him coming back on the cheap deal, but it's gonna be interesting where he goes, because I think the Packers are okay with him leaving. I don't think he's developed as quickly, but I don't think his play has matched the third round pick expectations. I think the Packers are confident in their draft department to be able to replace him for a cheaper option. You potentially same thing with Romeo. I like Romeo. I believe that he was probably our most consistent wide receiver over the last 3 years. This season, he definitely had some uncharacteristic drops, especially after he was suspended and had the concussion. Granted, probably a reason for that. He was out for a while, but yeah, he was towards the end of the season. He wasn't his usual consistent self with catching the ball. Yeah, that sucked when he got hurt. The only tiny little positive out of it was he might get him a little cheaper. Yeah. Yeah. No, very true, very true. And once again, it wouldn't be surprising if he has even a decent season. Maybe he decides to come back to Green Bay on a 1 year, 2 year deal to try to build up to that. But I'm always a big proponent of especially the first contract, your first big opportunity to make money. I want the player to make as much as he can, even if he leaves. I want them to be able to break the bank. After that, you better be a team guy, right? You better take some discounts. You better all this other stuff. But I'm kind of joking a little bit. But I always want these guys, especially when you're not a first round pick and stuff like that. The money from being a first rounder to even a early second rounder is it's a big steep drop off. So yeah, man, I'm hoping all of these guys, everybody that's been a Packer during that 2022 draft, I hope they either have a great season and they get re-signed, or they have a great season and they go somewhere else and make a buttload of money. So yeah, man, that's I think in a couple years that 2022 draft for the Packers, I think it's going to be looked at as a strong, pretty strong year, pretty strong class, I should say. These guys have played a lot of football, and for the most part, they've been successful. So that's pretty good. After this first day of free agency, it's making me think Ja will be back home. He restructured his deal though. Yeah, man. It's hey man, I thought you were calling him something. I was like, hey, I'm not gonna touch that. I ain't gonna fight with Ja. All right, man. Hey man, you want to create a war with you and Ja? You do your thing, man. I was gonna gloss right over it. All right, I saw what Kendrick did to Drake. I don't need that smoke. All right, I can't rap. I can't rap back. I've seen Ja, man. He can talk some smack. I've seen him on the field. I can't compete with that. No, going back to Ja, man. It's man. Like I said, I think I even mentioned this last year. It is weird. Even when the team was like, no, he's fine. We're just being cautious. I was like, no, it's weird. It's been weird. It's been weird since they suspended him 2 years ago during that Carolina game. After that Carolina game, I should say. It's been weird. It was weird even kind of before then. You could kind of tell he was not really happy with Joe Barry, and I think even just kind of like the overall structure. And I think I mentioned this before. Like John, he wants to be kind of himself fully. I don't think it's like a lot of people think it's like, it's an ego thing. He's blah, blah. I don't think that's what it is. I don't think it's. I want to be able to do whatever I want in the locker room. I don't want to, I don't think it's that. I think John is just he's an eccentric individual. I think he has his way of leading. I think he has his way of communicating with people. And I think Green Bay is trying to find a middle ground. And I think that's kind of rubbing up against each other. The traditional kind of conservative, not in terms of politics, but like very like to the chest, the way Green Bay does. Like you look at their social media, they're pretty close to the vest. They don't like to do a whole lot, they don't like to go crazy. And Ja is very expressive. He's very much the opposite. I saw some analysts say the Packers should go after Stephon. I was thinking Ja would. Oh my god, I think Ja. First off, Stephon is no. He is not coming to Green Bay. I can tell you that much. I don't think Diggs would want to be in Green Bay. 2, I don't think Green Bay wants Stephon Diggs. And 2, I'm pretty sure if Stephon Diggs signed with the Packers, I think Ja would literally be like, you can take all the money you just gave me and you can just take it. I'm out. I don't want to be here. But that would be hilarious, though. Like they're interviewing Ja, like, oh yeah, you signed your new extension. Yeah, Ja is just having fun. And then come behind him, you just see Stephon Diggs, newly signed wide receiver for the Packers, coming up. That'd be hilarious. But yeah, no, that would not work out. I don't think those guys. I think legitimately those guys do not like each other. Like usually you can kind of like, you can see after the game they're like, hey, we were talking some smack, dab you up. I think those guys do not like each other legitimately as like people. So yeah, that was no. I don't think Stephon Diggs would want to sign in Green Bay. Anyway, they just want to start a boxing match on the sideline. I mean, we haven't had a good fight. I'm just saying. I think the last good fight between like a corner and a wide receiver was at like Tom Crabtree. Tom Crab. Was it my God, I'm thinking. Sorry, I just keep on thinking of Tom Crabtree, the tight end. I got Michael Crabtree. My goodness, yeah, Michael Crabtree was probably the last like big fight that I remember seeing like live during the game. So that'd be interesting. You got Jordan Love celebrating a touchdown, and then the camera pans over, and you just see Ja and Diggs just punching each other on the sidelines. I mean, hey, if it motivates them, if they can both play, maybe they'll be like, man, I gotta score this dang touchdown just to shut that dude up. Oh, you talking about the other team? No, man, I'm talking about my teammate, man. He needs to shut up on the sidelines. That'd be hilarious. Maybe they'll motivate each other. I don't know. It works for Rodgers. Oh, Talib. There we go. I was like, is it Talib? Or I was like, man, I was thinking of somebody else. But yeah, Aqib Talib and Michael Crabtree. Yeah, that is correct. David, thank you. Appreciate you, man. Sorry, this brain is not working anymore. As a Kentucky fan, I was happy to see Maxwell Harrington show out on the combine and hope the Packers get him. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And I actually did I did a small, I didn't actually have the film because I was afraid if I showed it. Unfortunately, it was the SEC, and like the SEC is like no go. You're not showing any of our film at all. Nothing. So I actually did a little bit of a breakdown for Maxwell a couple weeks ago. He was impressive, man. There was a lot of praise during that film breakdown that I did, and he was a guy that as soon as I was done watching that film, I was like, I want the Packers to draft this guy. I like his speed. It was evident. There was like a draft report that I saw that was like, doesn't have great speed. I was like, the hell are you talking? What the heck are you talking about? That's all I saw, almost. Like, his ability to break on the ball was his biggest asset. Like the amount of times I saw this guy get quote unquote beat off the line, but he was able to recover so quickly. And not only when he recovered, he was able to locate the ball and make a play on it. Granted, I was watching his highlights, so I even mentioned that in the breakdown. It's like, these are highlights. They're gonna show you the best plays. They're not gonna show you the bad ones. So, but yeah, man, that kid is very talented. So I forgot who. I think it might have been NFL.com that said that he didn't have great speed. I was like, I don't agree. I'm like, and that doesn't make me a great scout. I'm pretty sure if somebody broke down that film, they would be like, yeah, he missed this kid. He missed this part, he missed that part. But yeah, his speed was impressive, and I think he's a battler, man. He's willing to tackle too. Is he an amazing tackler? No, but he's a corner. He's not supposed to be. The guys are not built like that. But he's a guy willing to do anything on the field, and I like that. I remember Talib Crabtree fine because I actually did fantasy football that year, and my opponent had Crabtree, so him getting tossed out. See, man. Sometimes violence does work in your favor. No, I'm kidding. Don't hit each other. Maybe no, don't. Did you check out Deion Walker? I did. I didn't do a video for him. Just because the video that I was watching was only like 2 minutes. I couldn't find something that was like really highlighting him. So but I'm actually gonna try to find more stuff outside of like YouTube. I think as the draft kind of goes on, there's gonna be more film on guys like Deion. So I'm hoping kind of as the draft approaches, I'll be able to watch something and maybe do like a small video on him. But yeah, no, Walker, man, that dude is massive. He's a massive human being. Like, he's a massive human being amongst massive human beings. He's impressive, man. Very powerful. Like I said, I think I mentioned this before. The thing that I noticed most is he does have a little bit of a narrow shoulders, which means like, once again, I don't know this. It may not mean a single thing, but to me, I'm like, would he be able to build on top of that frame though? That's the only thing that would be concerning to me. But once again, I watched like a 2 or 3 minute video on him, but he was impressive, very, very impressive. But yeah, David, man, it's I don't know. I guess, yeah. I mean, I was gonna say, were you happy that he was fighting? Where you're like, yes, yes, he's gonna get tossed out of this game, and I'm gonna win this week, or were you like, holy cow, what is going on here? During the Crabtree fight, man, I remember that fight, dude. He freaking ripped his chain, and then there was just punches, and once again, of course, there's always a bunch of guys punching other guys with helmets on, which I never understand. Like, I understand grabbing a guy by the face mask, because you're like, you're trying to. But I never understood punching a guy with a closed fist, too. Like, the slap I get. The slap, yeah, bam. But the full-on closed fist, I'm like, dude, you're going to break your hand. You don't want to connect. If you connect, you're gonna break something. But yeah, no. Doing this film stuff, man, has been getting the juices flowing. I actually bought a those draft guides. I'm a big draft guide guy. I've been buying those since I was a kid. Literally, I have like a stack of those going back to like 2008, 2009. And I even go to like old like thrift shops and try to buy some older ones. I have one from the year 2000, and I looked at when you look at the Patriots breakdown, their breakdown after the draft and all that stuff. They're like, yeah, they got Drew Bledsoe, great quarterback. They're gonna be vying for the Super Bowl every year. And then you go all the way down, and they're like, and finally their third quarterback, young man out of Michigan, Tom Brady. He'll try to stick around if he can. I was like, oh boy. And yeah, he stuck around a little too long, if you ask me. Jesus. But yeah, man. Yeah, one thing you'll know about me for sure, man, is I love those things. I don't like to do the online stuff because I like I like the tangible having it in my hands, but I also like how wrong they are. Not because I want to make fun of them, it's just because it's funny, man. The draft, trying to predict a team is going to be great or a player trying to be great. I think it's always funny. It's entertainment. It's what it should be. Shouldn't be taken too seriously. But yeah, man. Yeah, I like those. Those are always fun. Those are always one of my favorite things to do as a kid. It's just read those things cover to cover, almost like up until football season started. And then being able to kind of look back at those, 5, 10 years later and be like, oh yeah, my God, dude, Ndamukong Suh. Holy cow. Yeah, dude. But yeah. Yeah. Let me see here. So while there's a little bit of a lull here, let's talk about the second guy the Packers picked up, and that is from the oh my goodness, I almost said Oakland Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders. Man, I'm old as heck. Las Vegas Raiders, and that is corner Nate Hobbs. So this is a player. Oh, sorry, it's a 4-year contract, $48 million a year for the 4 years, but only 16 is guaranteed. So it is a very small contract. Actually, it's basically a 2-year, $16 million year contract. Because after year 2, they can basically cut him with almost nothing left on the books. So yeah, so 2 years, 16 million, roughly, $8 million a year. But yeah, man. So Nate Hobbs, starter for the Raiders, I think the last 2 seasons, if I'm correct. Played plenty of football. He has dealt with injuries. I think he's missed basically the equivalent of a full season over the last 4 years, or through the first 4 years of his career. But he's still 25. Solid in coverage, not great. So he plays mostly in the slot, but from the looks of it, the Packers are going to try to move him to the outside, where when you look at his numbers, even though it's limited to the numbers are limited at the outside, he tends to do slightly better. And I think that has to do with his size and just the way that he plays. And the reason some people are down on this, one, you're going with a Raiders corner that the defense has not played well. One, I don't think the Packers are banking on Hobbs being their number one guy. I think they're trying to not only create depth, because they definitely need corners, they need starters, and they need depth. And I think Nate is probably better than, I would say, if Nate Hobbs was on the Packers last year, I think he would have been the number 3 corner, without question. And I think if you can bring him, if you can draft another 2, maybe 3 guys, maybe still sign another person, and if Ja can come back or maybe trade for somebody else, I think the Packers Goody is going to try to do what he did last year with the safety room, and that is basically try to revamp it from the bottom down. Sorry, from the top down. My goodness. But yeah, you think me being a Kentucky fan would make me out not like Josh since he was a Louisville player, but I guess I'm being a Packer, balance it out. Yeah, man, and it's always interesting, man. It's always that. Like there's a couple Minnesota Gophers that I'm like, I'm a Badger fan. Obviously, I mean, I live in Wisconsin, dude. But yeah, dude, when the Packers draft some Minnesota Gophers, I'm like, I guess I'll cheer for you, man. I was like, you better be good. Otherwise, I'm gonna hate the Gophers even more. Not only do you try to beat us in college, now you give us your players that can't perform. What's up with that? But yeah, man. Yeah, I always forget. Yeah, it's been such a long time, man, that I always forget Job was a um, Louisville player, man. And I remember when he was coming out, his biggest knock on him was he was a small guy, can't tackle, things like that. And like I said, he's a corner. They're not built to tackle. Some of the best corners in football, especially over the last 25 years, were never considered amazing tacklers. Revis is all about coverage. Sherman, very physical, good tackler. He's an exception. Yeah, man, like some of the best corners out there. Dion was notorious for avoiding contact. Didn't stop him from being in the Hall of Fame. I wonder if him and Carrington Valentine take bets when Louisville and Kentucky play. Oh my god, dude! I remember when Carrington Valentine came out, man, and I was looking at his film. I was like, oh, this guy's like, to me, he seemed like a 4th round pick, like an early day 3, because you could clearly tell he was raw still. He was still trying to figure out the position, but there was just so much talent there, man, and the size too. Like anytime a corner of that size, if he's able to flip his hips and be able to track the ball through the air, even if he can't, intercept it, if he can track the ball and try to make a play, usually eventually those guys develop into really, really solid players. At the very least, they know where to put themselves in the position to try to break up the pass. And I think you're starting to see that with Carrington. I think he's developed into a very good corner, 7th round draft pick that I think immediately you saw that the Packers got value for him, and it's only gotten better. I think Valentine is a borderline solid starter in the NFL. I think if he was on a handful of other teams, I think he would be their number 1. But he's still growing, he's still learning, and I hope the kid continues to play, man, and continues to grow, because he has been really impressive to see. But yeah, man, I wouldn't be surprised if John, man, those guys, especially corners, man, they love to talk smack. I would not be surprised if they talk some smack when their teams go up against each other. I was happy when he got that interception. Oh heck yeah, dude. Yeah, dude. Especially when it's one of your, especially when it's like early on in their careers, man. It's one of their first couple. It's always just you're like, oh man, finally, 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 finally. Like the hard work paid off. The film, the workouts, everything. College, you finally got an interception in the NFL. Like nobody can take that away from you. It's like when you score your first touchdown. Yeah, you could say, oh, you only played 3 years. Yeah, but I scored a touchdown in the NFL in the regular season. It's official. I am part of the NFL history. You know, you can't talk about how many touchdowns there have been in the NFL without mentioning my name. So, and same thing with the interceptions, man. It's always awesome. I think they said it was his first in the NFL. Yeah, man. It was let me see here, was second year, right? Because I think he was drafted in 2023. Yeah, 2023. But yeah, man. Just the guy, man. He just continues to work. And I remember Ja, man. He was building him up from his rookie year to last year to this year, man. It's been really really fun to see Carrington Valentine kind of just grow into his role, and you can tell, man, like when he talks about the game, especially early from his career, you're starting to see a player that is going to be probably sticking around in the NFL for a long time, because like just the way he talks about the game is you can tell he knows what he wants to do, what he needs to do, and what the film is showing, and those guys tend to stick around. Nate Hobbs didn't go to Kentucky, but he was born in Louisville. Ooh, look at that, man. The connections, the connections. Yeah, let me see here. So, yeah, and that's the other thing too that I like about Hobbs. He is 25 years old. He's gonna doesn't turn 26 until June. Yep, high school, Louisville, male, Louisville, Kentucky. Went to Illinois, so he's a fighting an Illini. Fifth round draft pick, man. That's another thing too that I like when those day three guys, man, tend to stick around in the NFL. He played college football at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. Yeah, dude. Um, yeah, so it looks like Pro Football ranked him the 110th corner out of 223, so about middle of the road. And I think that's when you look at the contract, that people think like, oh, they're gonna try to make him their one of their starters. I'm like, kind of. Let's be honest. Like the NFL nowadays is playing nickel, so you need three corners. You basically need three corners starting. Um, Whether they move him to the inside, which is where he's played, but if you look at his numbers when he's outside, it's slightly better. But it's just whether it's because of lack of opportunity or the necessity to move him inside. I think the Packers are going to want to try to challenge, see if they can put him outside because they like his size. He's 6 feet, 195. He's got decent speed, nothing crazy, but really solid. So I think they're hoping that they can either keep Keyshawn inside along with Javon Bullard as well, and then on the outside you'll have Carrington Valentine and Nate Hobbs, along with potentially any other rookies that they draft. Hopefully they draft at least two or three, because I think the Packers need to hit on another corner or two to be able to kind of revamp this corner room. And that's whether they keep Joe or they trade him or release him or whatever it is. I'm hoping he stays. I think Joe can still play. I think a lot of it has been, one, he hasn't been healthy, which can affect you mentally. And two, I think part of it has been the frustration that sometimes he feels like he has been, or he's being kind of like muzzled at times. And I think there's a lot of love and respect in that locker room for not only Ja, but I think Ja loves and respects his coaches, his teammates, and I think he legitimately likes being a Packer. But I think it's more of like, what else can I be outside of this place? Can I go somewhere and still be successful, still be the player that I am, but maybe I can express myself a little bit better or express myself more truthfully to what I want to be. So, either way, man, I hope it works out for both teams. Hopefully, the Packers, if they do need to release him or trade him, hopefully they can get compensation, and hopefully Ja can go somewhere where he wants to be. Hopefully that's in Green Bay. Alrighty. But yeah, let me know. Was there a signing today that surprised you, or that you thought was gonna go somewhere something differently there, or also what did you think of your team's potential signings, or are you looking for your team to try to pick up somebody else in the next coming days? Let me know. All right. So in a few seconds here, I'm actually gonna show you and talk about a little bit of an announcement on the channel. I've talked about this for the last couple of weeks. I do apologize that it's taken this long to get it done. I just wanted to make sure that it was good. I didn't want to do it just to do it. Like I said, I think I've talked about that. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, and I do have to work on that. Sometimes just kind of doing something and just making sure that you can fix it along the way and get better. And I think, I mean, if anything, the channel has proven that. Like, I think we talked about it before. The channel did not look amazing, or at least the live streams did not look amazing at first, but then they got better and better as the season went on. And I have to learn that this next part of this channel is going to be very similar, or at least this next series that we're going to be doing here is going to start out somewhere, and it's hopefully going to get better as it goes along. But I still wanted to have a good base to where it was, and that's why it took a little bit longer. So I am officially going to be announcing the new series that I will be premiering on Friday. I'm going to try to get it out before the live stream on Friday night. And that is going to be called It's Not a Film Room. Yeah, no, David Stegosaurus. I've been to Louisville before. Let's go. I've heard Louisville is beautiful, man. It's a lot of good places to not only just spend some really great time with people, but also just like a really nice like night culture over there in Louisville. But yeah, guys. So yeah, this next chapter here that we're going to be doing throughout the off season is something that I've been working on for a little bit here, something that I've wanted to do for a bit. I'll go into more detail. Once I premiere it, I'll kind of break it down a little bit during that video, but then the live stream I'll kind of expand on what I want for this series, and kind of what it's going to be and what can it can continue to be. But yeah, I did want to kind of talk about it just a little bit here, just for a minute or two. I don't want to, give away all the secrets yet. But yeah, man, It's Not a Film Room is going to be basically me breaking down some of the best drives, some of my favorite plays as well throughout the 2024 season. And on top of that, I'm going to try to incorporate some of the draft stuff, kind of leading into the draft. It's going to be a little bit tough because, once again, college film is very, very difficult to not only obtain, but it's also the colleges conferences. Those are they tend not to be favorable um, to being used, even if it's quote unquote fair use. In my opinion, you're kind of breaking it down. You're in my opinion, I think you're changing the way that it is. You're not just showing the film and being like, oh yeah, yeah. I think you're commenting on it. You're describing it. You're changing what it is. But if anybody has watched Brett Coleman's draft breakdowns from a few years ago, they were amazing. They were great. They were incredibly educational. And then about halfway through his series, he basically was unable to finish the way he started out with, because the SEC basically was like, yeah, we're going to give you a strike if you show our film or our prospects, and which is insane, especially for a guy like Brett Coleman, who has has done nothing but showed love and respect for basically any aspect of sports, especially the football, obviously, but the college, it's free advertisement for your prospects. It's free advertising for your conference, for your product. But these colleges were like, no, we don't want that. So I'll see if I can do those. Worst comes to worst, I'll kind of point you in the direction of a video, and I will kind of, in a way, you'll kind of watch that as you watch me kind of talk about that play. I know that's kind of might be a little bit too much. We'll see how it works. If it doesn't, we'll continue with the regular filming, regular NFL film, which they tend to kind of let go a little bit more. I think hopefully this stuff doesn't get demonetized, or I don't even think it or get claimed or anything like that. But we'll see. But yeah, man. Basically, it's gonna be just me breaking down a film. It'll be what I see as the play unfolds. Nothing crazy. Yeah, man. It's not a film room. I'm not a coach. This is just for entertainment. Hopefully, we can kind of I'll learn along the way to kind of read and kind of just talk about film, and hopefully my ultimate goal is to be able to potentially bring in some people that whether it's local coaches or maybe even former players, whether that's college or further higher, and see if we can do some segments there. But once again, that is way down the road, way down the road. But yeah, man, that is going to be the new series that we will be starting here. It's going to be mostly an off-season stuff segment, because I feel like it's it's going to be great to have some of that kind of football throughout the off-season. But there'll be some stuff during the season as well. I'll try to squeeze in a video or two throughout the season. But my goal for this one is to get 2 of these videos out to you a week. And they're going to be initially very short. It's literally just going to be one drive that I'll be describing, just kind of going through. It'll be anywhere between 6 to maybe 10 minutes long, maybe slightly longer depending on it. But they're going to be relatively short. And hopefully you guys will give me feedback if you want them to be shorter, if you want them to be longer. Maybe you want more than just one drive that I'll talk about per video, maybe a couple drives in a single game. Or we can do some shorts as well, where I just kind of break down a single play and kind of just go from there. But yeah, so as we go along, I'll be experimenting with some of this stuff, and so the format will kind of stay the same, but it might be tweaked here and there. But as they kind of roll out, as I get more feedback and see what works, we'll continue to grow with this new video series. Obviously, this is not going to, once the season starts, we will be going back to live streaming as many games as we can and going from there. But yeah, this is going to be some off-season stuff, and I'm going to try to see if we can get it going. So David, could you point out spin moves in the drive breakdown? Almost exclusively, I will be breaking down the spin moves in the breakdown. I got you, my bud. I got you. Yes, if there is a spin move, I will actually isolate that one player, and I will be like, we're gonna break this down from the beginning of when he pivots to when he loops. We're gonna talk about everything, how his jersey flows, if he has hair, how that hair moves. It creates a dance. It disorients the defender. They lose their balance, and it ends with a beautiful pirouette at the end where he stiff arms him to the ground. That's a little bit of a preview right there. It's gonna be beautiful. It's gonna be beautiful. But yeah, man. So that's gonna be a new segment. The first episode will be dropping on Friday. That'll be actually the Baltimore Ravens and the Kansas City Chiefs. Once again, these are going to be just one drive. I do want to make them short and sweet. It allows me to edit them a lot faster. It also allows me to kind of create more of these at the same time. But once again, if you guys want them longer, if you want more than just one drive, we'll definitely experiment with that. I've been even thinking about maybe doing, if I'm going to be dropping two, doing one where it's just one drive. It's sweet. You want to watch it, do them, you're done. And then maybe the second one is a little bit longer. Things like that. So, but we'll be messing around with that stuff, and whatever seems to kind of really engage with people, that's what we'll do, and we'll continue to grow with it, man. And honestly, one of my ultimate goals is to kind of do like what John Madden did and have like a highlighter and just be like, yeah, you see this guy, he's gonna go here and goes whap, and then this ball falls and goes bing bong boom boom, and then this guy scoops it up, and like that. Obviously, I'm not gonna imitate John Madden, because I feel like I'd be insulting the man, R.I.P. to a legend. But yeah, so like if I can get some highlighting stuff and get some arrows and doing all that stuff, man, that's just like something I wanted to do ever since I was a kid, doing the telestrator kind of stuff. So, yeah, that's once I find a program that can kind of work with what I have here. I've tried a couple ones. For some reason, if it's not in full screen, it works. But once I go into full screen, which is easier for me to kind of see and also kind of have it out there, unfortunately, the software that lets you write on it, it goes away. So I got to find a program that allows me to kind of a little bit more flexibility in what I'm able to do. So yeah, once we get that going, man, it's gonna be all John Madden up in here, man. Gonna be doing arrows, squiggles, everything. Gonna be the Bob Ross of football film. All right, just painting just beautiful little trees. Oh my god, dude. I've been awake for way too long. I'm losing my mind. All right, guys. I'm gonna start wrapping it up here, but please let me know if you want me to mention something before we go. Was there anything in the last couple of weeks that I didn't touch on yet? Once again, we will be live streaming on Friday. I'll be doing a deeper breakdown of some of the bigger contracts in free agency once those become official, and we'll get some more numbers. That'll be a little bit more of a breakdown on Friday. And we'll even possibly talk about the first episode of It's Not a Film Room and see what you guys thought. But yeah, man. Holy cow, man. What a wild day here for the NFL, man. A lot of potential contracts, a lot of signings, a lot of trades. Oh, yeah, Laremy Tunsil. That was the other thing, too. We'll talk about that Friday. But, yeah, Laremy Tunsil, man. Holy cow. Getting traded to the Commanders. That is yeah, the Commanders are just they're trying to build something over there, man. I don't know. I don't know if it's gonna work out. If it does, man, I'm gonna the NFC should be worried if all those trades work out for the Commanders, man. That'll be terrifying. Um, but yeah, man, holy cow. Hopefully the Packers can sign somebody else. Sign Rico Dowdle, please, somebody. Because that dude is, I think that dude's gonna work out pretty well. Give him the ball, see if he can put up some big numbers, and we'll see what happens over there in Pittsburgh. It's we'll see if Rodgers goes there or if he goes with the Giants. It'll be pretty interesting. But regardless, man, I just want to say thank you guys for popping in here on a Monday night. Hopefully your week is starting out well. Hopefully your weekend was amazing over here in Wisconsin. It was probably the best weather-wise weekend we've had in probably since like November. It was like full 50 degrees yesterday, and it was like 60 degrees today. After having some really, really brutal weather. But yeah, hopefully wherever you are safe, you are having fun. And yeah, man, hopefully your team can either sign or trade for somebody that you really want, and we can all have some fun. So, but shout out to AKF, obviously David Stegosaurus for always popping in here, man. I appreciate you. Captain Mickey Mouse for popping in here as well early on, man. Always appreciate you, man. Always have a bunch of knowledge about stadiums, about players, their planes, man. That's amazing. I have no idea where to find that information, Ben, but you know where it is, so I'm going to be going to you if I ever need it. So I appreciate you, man. But yeah, thank you so much. If you are new to the channel, please like and subscribe. Our goal is to get to 100 before or during the draft. That's going to be something that I'm going to hope that's going to be the goal. But yeah, the road to 100 is on, man. Tom Grassi has a road to 1 million. I am nowhere near that at all, but I am still trying to get a goal that is very meaningful to me, and that's to get to 100 subscribers. So if you know people that like some football content, that are looking for some stuff during the draft or even during the season, let them know. Yeah, man, drop them a link, tell them what this channel's about, and see if they like it, man. So I appreciate you. Thank you so much, guys. Have a wonderful night, and I'll catch you guys on Friday. I'll be dropping some community posts here as some more signings happen, but we'll go live on Friday, man. So thank you so much. I will catch you guys later.